Alright, let's be brutally honest with each other, shall we? Life in all its chaotic glory has a knack for throwing curveballs. Deadlines loom like monstrous deadlines. Relationships strain under the weight of unspoken expectations. The sheer, unrelenting pressure of navigating existence can, at times, feel like a relentless assault on our sanity. We all know stress. It's that familiar knot that tightens in your stomach, that relentless racing of your heart, that unnerving sensation of teetering on the precipice of a full-blown existential crisis. But what is stress really? Is it the malevolent villain we've been so meticulously taught to fear, the insidious force that erodes our health and happiness? Or could it be something far more nuanced, far more complex, perhaps even a misunderstood ally? Welcome, fellow seekers of wisdom, to a philosophical and scientific exploration of stress. Today, we're not content with merely rehashing well-worn platitudes or offering superficial coping mechanisms. We're embarking on a deep dive into the very nature of stress, challenging the conventional narratives that have shaped our understanding, and daring to ask, could our prevailing, deeply ingrained understanding of stress be the most significant stressor of all? Could our fear of stress be more damaging than stress itself? For far too long, we've been relentlessly bombarded with a one-sided, fear-mongering message. Stress is the enemy. It's the insidious Grim Reaper, lurking ominously in the shadows of our lives, patiently waiting to pounce on our unsuspecting health. It's portrayed as the silent killer, the relentless saboteur of our well-being. And I get it. The evidence seems overwhelmingly compelling. Stress is undeniably linked to a litany of physical and psychological woes, ranging from the seemingly mundane common cold to the terrifying specter of cardiovascular disease, and even the insidious creep of mental health disorders. But what if, in our understandable eagerness to protect ourselves, we've been asking fundamentally flawed questions? What if our focus has been misplaced? What if the core problem isn't stress itself, that inherent part of the human experience, this radical shift but rather the deeply ingrained, often unconscious relationship we cultivate? You find yourself walking a precarious tightrope suspended high above a bustling city. The wind howls around you, threatening to throw you off balance. The crowd below gasps with every wobble, their collective anxiety a palpable force. You're undeniably stressed, right? Your body is screaming, danger! But now, imagine a different scenario. Imagine you're a seasoned, world-class acrobat. This tightrope is your domain, your stage. The wind is a challenge to be mastered, the crowd's energy a source of exhilaration. The stress is still undeniably there. The physiological response is remarkably similar, but it's transformed into fuel. It's focus. It's the very essence of what allows you to perform extraordinary feats. The external situation, the potential for danger, remains largely unchanged, but the internal meaning you assign to it, the narrative you weave around it, changes everything. This brings us to a crucial insight, a philosophical cornerstone explored by Stoic thinkers like the brilliant Epictetus. He famously argued, with unwavering conviction, that it is not events that disturb men, but rather their judgments about these events. In other words, it's not the stressor itself, the external circumstance that inevitably condemns us to suffering, but rather our internal interpretation of that stressor, the stories we tell ourselves about its meaning and implications, that dictates our emotional and psychological response. This ancient wisdom resonates profoundly with the core message of the TED Talk that sparked this exploration, reminding us that our power lies not in controlling the world around us, but in mastering our inner world. The talk highlighted a groundbreaking study that served as a catalyst for my own intellectual journey, forcing me to reevaluate deeply held beliefs. Researchers meticulously tracked the health outcomes of thousands of individuals over an extended period, carefully measuring their levels of stress and, crucially, their beliefs about the impact of stress on their well-being. The findings were nothing short of revelatory, even unsettling. They discovered that stress, in and of itself, was not the primary culprit. It was the belief that stress was harmful that significantly increased the risk of premature mortality. Think about the profound implications of that for a moment. Our deeply ingrained assumptions about stress, our very philosophy of stress, can wield the power to become a self-fulfilling prophecy, shaping our physiological responses and ultimately influencing our health and longevity. Okay, so let's delve deeper into the fascinating mechanics of this mind-body connection. How, precisely, does a seemingly ephemeral thought, a mere belief, exert such a powerful influence on our physical well-being? To truly understand this, we need to peek behind the curtain of the stress response, to examine the intricate symphony of physiological changes that occur when we encounter a perceived challenge. Picture this. You're confronted with a situation that your brain interprets as a challenge or a threat. It could be a physical threat, like encountering a wild animal, or a psychological threat, like facing a looming deadline or navigating a complex social interaction. The brain, that incredible command center, doesn't always distinguish between these different types of stressors. Its primary concern is survival. And so, the sympathetic nervous system, the body's rapid response system, kicks into high gear. Adrenaline and cortisol, the stress hormones, flood your bloodstream, preparing you for immediate action. Your heart pounds with increased force, delivering oxygenated blood to your muscles. Your breathing quickens, providing a surge of oxygen to your brain. Your senses sharpen, heightening your awareness of the environment. This is the classic fight-or-flight response, a remarkably efficient evolutionary adaptation designed to ensure our survival in the face of danger. Now, here's where our traditional understanding often goes astray. We've historically viewed this intricate symphony of physiological changes, this cascade of hormones and neural signals, as inherently negative, as a destructive force wreaking havoc on our bodies. The constricted blood vessels, the rapid and forceful heartbeat, the heightened state of arousal, these have been portrayed as ticking time bombs, relentlessly increasing our risk for cardiovascular disease, chronic inflammation, and a host of other health problems. But what if this perspective is fundamentally flawed? What if these physiological changes are not inherently destructive, but rather a sophisticated and finely tuned system of mobilization, a powerful way for our bodies to prepare us to meet challenges, to rise to the occasion, to perform at our peak? What if the key lies not in suppressing this response, but in understanding and effectively harnessing its power? Think about the remarkable feats of athletes. They intentionally subject their bodies to immense physical stress. Their hearts race at extraordinary speeds, their muscles scream in protest, their lungs burn with exertion. Yet they don't interpret these physiological sensations as signs of impending doom. Instead, they reframe them as preparation, as power, as the very essence of what allows them to push beyond their perceived limitations and achieve extraordinary levels of performance. The key, it seems, lies not in the presence or absence of the stress response, but in the narrative we construct around it, the meaning we assign to it, the philosophy we embrace in the face of pressure. So, how do we transform ourselves into philosophical and psychological athletes of stress? How do we train our minds, those powerful architects of our reality, to view adversity not as a crippling and debilitating force, but as a catalyst for growth, a challenge to be embraced, a stepping stone to resilience and wisdom? The first and perhaps most crucial step is to cultivate the habit of challenging our default, often negative narratives. When that familiar surge of stress arises, when you feel that knot tightening in your stomach, resist the urge to immediately label it as bad, as a sign of weakness or impending failure. Instead, pause. Take a deep, conscious breath. And then, ask yourself a series of empowering questions. What is my body attempting to communicate to me right now? What resources is it mobilizing? Is there another, more constructive way to interpret these sensations? Is there a hidden opportunity for growth or learning within this challenging situation? This practice of cognitive reappraisal, of consciously shifting our perspective, finds a powerful echo in the wisdom of Stoic philosophy, a school of thought that has resonated with individuals seeking resilience and inner peace for centuries. Stoics like the Emperor Marcus Aurelius emphasize the fundamental importance of focusing our energy and attention on what we can directly control. We can't always control the external stressors that life throws our way, the unpredictable events, the difficult people, the unexpected setbacks. But we can exert absolute control over our thoughts, our actions, and our emotional responses to those stressors. Stress, in this Stoic view, is an inevitable part of the human condition, a natural consequence of living in a complex and often challenging world. But suffering, the debilitating anguish and despair that often accompany stress, is largely optional, a product of our own mental interpretations and reactions. As we discussed earlier, the TED Talk highlighted a compelling study where participants were systematically trained to reframe their stress response, to consciously reinterpret the physiological sensations they experienced during stressful situations. They were guided to understand that the pounding heart was not a sign of anxiety or weakness, but rather a powerful preparation for action, a surge of energy fueling their performance. They learned to view the rapid breathing not as a symptom of panic, but as an efficient way to deliver increased oxygen to the brain, enhancing focus and clarity. And the results of this cognitive intervention were nothing short of remarkable. Participants reported significantly reduced feelings of anxiety and overwhelm. They displayed increased confidence and self-efficacy, and, perhaps most importantly, they exhibited healthier cardiovascular responses, demonstrating a tangible link between mindset and physical well-being. But our exploration of stress doesn't end with individual cognitive strategies. There's another crucial dimension to consider, a factor that profoundly influences our experience of stress and our ability to navigate its challenges: the social context. Stress, in its multifaceted forms, rarely occurs in complete isolation. It often arises within the intricate web of our relationships, within the complex dynamics of our social interactions. And it turns out that our bodies, in their remarkable wisdom, are beautifully and intricately equipped to handle stress not through solitary confinement and self-imposed isolation, but through the nurturing power of connection. The TED Talk introduced us to the fascinating role of oxytocin, often affectionately referred to as the cuddle hormone. While it's undeniably released during moments of physical intimacy and social bonding, its significance extends far beyond mere cuddling. Oxytocin is, in fact, a powerful neurohormone, a chemical messenger that intricately fine-tunes our brain's social instincts, subtly and profoundly shaping our behavior and our perception of the world around us. It primes us to engage in behaviors that strengthen close relationships, fostering a sense of belonging and community. Oxytocin makes us crave physical contact with our friends and family, not just for pleasure, but for a deep-seated sense of security and connection. It enhances our empathy, making us more attuned to the emotional states of others, more capable of understanding their perspectives and sharing in their joys and sorrows. It even increases our willingness to help and support the people we care about, motivating us to act altruistically and contribute to the well-being of our social groups.